About 5 years ago, I was on my way home from a particularly frustrating day at work, and I decided to stop near an old, wooden, one-lane bridge about 5 minutes from my home. I had been stopping there for years to just stand on the bridge and listen to the water, especially during the full moon. It's lovely. On this particular night, there was no moon to speak of. It was a sliver, a scant thumbnail moon, and there were some clouds in the sky. It was quite cool, especially for August, and it was about 2:30 a.m. or thereabouts. I parked my car on the far side of the bridge and walked out to the centre and stood at the rail, looking into the water. After a few minutes, I started to feel very uncomfortable. I shrugged it off, telling myself I was being silly. A minute or so later, I was getting quite frightened for no discernible reason. I was in a familiar place, and I had not heard or seen anything to make me feel that way. I started looking around for anything out of place. I looked for headlights, for glowing animal eyes. There was nothing. I tried to get a grip on myself. I made myself breathe normally and just looked at the water. When I looked down at the water, where it was flowing under the bridge almost directly below me, I saw what I can only describe as a light of some kind in the water, under the water, moving out from under the bridge against the current. The colour of that light defies description. It was a sickly, unhealthy, bluish, brownish, yellowish green, and it seemed to be moving towards me. I was like a deer in headlights, frozen. I don't even remember running to the car and getting in and driving away. I do remember being absolutely, completely terrified. That was the most fear I have ever felt in my life. I was so frightened at the moment I saw that light, I was almost sick with it. The fact that I was scared before I saw anything was more scary in retrospect. In all seriousness, I've seen swamp gas, slept in haunted houses, and worked in horrible neighbourhoods, but I have never been given to flights of fancy. I'm a professional copywriter for a popular media trade magazine. I'm detail-oriented and observant, not a nervous Nelly about every little thing. I still have no idea what I saw. My friend and I were at a camp, and were walking just outside of the circle of cabins. It was a bright night with all the stars shining, and the moon was well lit. There was a campfire going, and in one of the big cabins there was a party going on, with music and so on. We were walking, and we both got a really weird feeling, as if we were being watched. We both turned towards the sea. We saw a blue figure, very tall, about 7 feet, walking through the trees. It made no sound at all. It was a bright blue, glowing figure walking through the forest. It was emitting a shimmery aura, and my friend and I both became very frightened. We started shouting at that thing, and we were asking it what it was. We got no reply, of course. We stared as it walked away and out of our vision. We didn't dare follow it. Then we ran back to the group of people at the campfire, screaming and describing what we saw. Another friend of mine claimed he was watching it from a distance, not far from where we were, and was just as frightened as I was. My dad's friend is a very good scuba diver. One of his jobs he had was to retrieve dead bodies in shipwrecks and other disasters at sea. His job was to locate dead bodies underwater and tie a rope around them so they could be pulled from the water. One night, he got a call that a boat had sunk. This was no big deal to him. he was used to the job by now. He met his dive team and they took a boat to the location of the disaster. After a while in the water, they found the boat and swam inside. They split up, and he went down a long corridor with rooms on each side. Every door was closed, and the hall looked empty. He was taught to go to the end of the halls and start there instead of starting from the first room he would see. He made his way down the corridor and finally came to the end. He started to open the door at the end when something caught the back of his eye. He turned around and saw each door was open, with the victims of the shipwreck in the hallway he had just passed, which was empty a second ago. He was shaken, but still did his job and recovered all of the bodies. The only explanation he could think of was he created a wake as he walked through the hall, which pulled the corpses outside into the hallway. He told me that's what he tells himself, so he can sleep at night. One time, when I was on a 15-hour drive, I had to pull over at a rest stop to get some sleep. I quickly passed out, and I had the strangest dream of people trying to kill me at a rest stop. When I woke up from the dream, there was a smiley face on the inside of my windshield. Needless to say, I hauled it the second I woke up.